Today I have some thrift flips and makeovers for you. I'm going to start with this dog that I've had for quite some time. Recently, one of his feet broke off, so I glued it back on with some Gorilla Glue, and then he decided he needed to have a new paint job. So I used Rust-Oleum chalk paint in linen white that I purchased from Amazon, and I've given him a coat of paint all over, and then I'm letting him dry. While the dog is drying, I'm going to work on these boards that I cut out. I previously used my jigsaw and cut out these woods to make some decorative boards. They won't be food safe, but they will still be pretty to set out. I'm taking some clear wax and giving them a coat on the top. Then I will let them dry. Next I am taking this plastic cloche and wood bead. I got the plastic cloche from the Dollar Tree, probably last year for $1. So I'm going to remove the tape and the label on the bottom, and I am going to take the Rust-Oleum chalk paint in linen white and give the bottom part a coat of white chalk paint. While that is drying, I'm going to take some antique wax from Folk Art, and I'm going to give my wooden bead a coat. Then I will wipe it off with a paper towel, and this will have changed the look of the bead so it's not unfinished. I'm going to give the base another coat. I'm having a little trouble getting the plastic to cover with this white chalk paint, so we're going to add a few coats to it. Next, I'm going to color or stain these styrofoam eggs that I also got from Dollar Tree. I'm going to place them inside the cloche when it is finished. After applying the antique wax to the styrofoam eggs, you could still see that they were styrofoam. So I went ahead and added a little bit of sage chalk paint along with some white and just dabbed it on, and then took the paper towel to it to dry it off a bit so that I can put it inside later. Next, I'm going to take my Gorilla Glue and apply it to the wooden bead and then secure it to the top of the cloche. While that is drying and setting, I'm going to go back to the dog and give it one last coat of chalk paint. Next, I'm going back to the cloche. I thought that I had some faux grass, but I couldn't find any in my craft stash. So I actually went outside to some plants that were dried out that needed to still be pulled from last season. And I cut some of the dried grass from there. And I've kind of just made a ring out of it so that I could place it at the base of this cloche. Then I inserted one of these green bunnies that I purchased from Dollar Tree in a pack of 3 and one of the eggs that I painted. It took a little maneuvering to get everything in there, and I had to trim some of the grass that kept poking out the side of the cloche. But once it was done, I thought it looked kind of cute. Now that that project is done, I'm going back to the boards. I used a old leather belt that I had and cut some strips to it to make the handles. I screwed the handles to the top like this. These are by far from perfect, but I think they're cute. Next, I had these stools and this little table that I purchased very cheap and wanted to make them over. I had 3 stools and a table. This was the first stool that I had. I liked the shape of the legs, and so that is why I picked it. I sanded down everything, but I had a hard time getting down to the bare wood. And I also found this almost like a wallpaper coating on the legs. The next stool was green with a yellow top. I sanded down some of the legs and the top as well. I painted that stool white with the Rust-Oleum white linen as well. After drying, this is how the dog turned out. Next up was the little bunny cloche. This is how the 2 breadboards turned out with the leather handles. The white stool needed a little something extra, and I wasn't sure what to put on. I went ahead and added one of the IOD transfers in black. And this is how it turned out. Next is the stool that I had sanded and tried to get to its bare wood, but I decided that this was fine and I actually liked it like this. This one I will be keeping for myself. Next, I added a stripe to that little white table. I gave it a grain sack stripe look with the sage chalk paint from Folk Art. I also sanded the edges a little bit to give it some wear. And this is how it turned out. I had previously done the stool on the left, but I went ahead and did a second one to try to match it. It's a little bit darker, but I think it turned out okay. Let me know in the comments below which project was your favorite. Don't forget to like and subscribe so I can continue making these videos. Thanks for watching.